Not too long ago, India was known as a country for poverty and snake dance. People were not looking very positive toward the country. Fast forward 2017, and India is one of the fastest economies. Almost every eye is set on India market. The growth of every industry has been led by India, whether it is mobile, whether it is retail or any other industry. In India, 98% of retail market is still owned by offline retailers. And in the era of digitization, analytics and data, offline retailers are really finding tough to compete with online retailers. However, there are few solutions available which can really make them win. To discuss those solutions, today we have got Mr. Sudhindra, Country Manager of India and SAARC. Welcome, Mr. Sudhindra. So, Sudhindra, I want to know that considering so much of buzz and so much of competition between offline and online retailers in India specifically, what are the chances for offline retailers to win?
Okay. I think if you look at the retail industry in general, I think it's evolved and transformed over the last few years. We are seeing a lot of buzz in the online retailing, and there's a lot of popularity as well. However, as you rightly mentioned in your introduction, majority of the retail is still the offline retail,
Yes.
right? So people do like to go to the respective locations to make their purchases, have the feel, and then make the purchase, right? So considering this is stupendous opportunity for the online retailers in terms of a growth perspective, because they've it's the tip of the iceberg, right? So they've not even got into the depth of the market there. So there's a lot of penetration to happen from online retailing. However, on the offline retailing, we are still seeing growth in terms of if you see the large format retail and the premium retail, we do see a lot of people coming in and setting up stores, and people still going online and buying, right? So it also depends on the buying pattern of the people. There are standard products which people would like to simply pick through online, because if it's a book, it's a standard book and you can just go buy. But if it is an apparel or jewelry or something, people would still like to try, feel, and then buy it. So people would like to try it before they buy, and they would like to get the real feel of it before they make the purchase. So in my view, there will be penetration of online into the retail industry. However, the offline retail will still exist, because there are a lot of markets where people still like to go and make their purchases.
Great. So Axix Communications has got a fleet of product, which can really satisfy the need of offline retailers as well as offline. So can you just briefly explain us what are those solutions?
Okay. So I think from an Axix perspective, retail is one of the biggest industry which we see where Axix has a complete solution which we can offer. One of the main challenges we see in the retail industry is basically on loss prevention, right? So pilferage that happen from within and outside as well, right? So how to prevent that. The second thing we look at is the store optimization and the quality of service to the customer. So the retailers are always looking at how can I improve the customer service, how can I make the customer feel more comfortable, how can I make more buying happen from the customer, right? So optimization of the store, and then obviously safety, both for employees and for customers who are basically coming in, right? Now, if you look at how we address all these solutions, Axix has got a whole gamut of solution for the store optimization and loss prevention. Say, for example, if somebody is not cutting a bill, or there are 10 items and only 8 are billed. Now these can be integrated with our solution for the POS to capture as to how many products were taken and how many products were billed. So so there's no chance for somebody to take 10 products, whereas only 8 are actually billed, right? So that basically prevents the loss. So from the customer who's taken it and who's actually billing at the counter, the entire thing gets billed out, right? So this can be done, and it can also be integrated with the POS as to which customer, how the billing happened, what happened. See, tomorrow you may say you billed for say 10, but I got only 9 products.
Okay.
that can also be managed with our solution, wherein it integrates with the POS as to who was the customer, what time the billing happened, how many items were billed, and actually the footage of him taking all the 10 items, right? So these things basically prevent the losses, which is, I think, the biggest as far as the retail is concerned, right? And then we look at how they improve the customer satisfaction. So the customer satisfaction could be if somebody's bought everything and they're coming to the queue and there's a long queue, so it puts people off, right? They wouldn't like to stand in a long queue. So one of the common things you see is people just drop things and go off. They don't get it billed if there's a long queue. So our solution can look at how many people are there in the queue. Is it optimized in terms of number of billing counters, or it should intimate the billing the store manager so that he opens out more billing counters so that the billing happens more smoothly, right? So this is one form of the thing. The second thing we can do is in terms of the demographics, identifying whether it's a male or a female coming in, and our solution on the store optimization can also look at the approximate age of the person coming in, and then probably you could flash ads within your store to look at what kind of possible products he would like to pick up, or you would like to suggest some products which would be of interest to that person, right? So if it is a lady walking in, of a middle-aged lady in the early 40s, maybe it can show up some new saris that are there, or some jewelry or some cosmetics which could be of interest for that person, right? So this is another form of the customer satisfaction improved, and the store optimization, where they look at the demographics of who's coming in and what kind of products you would typically like to recommend, right? And then also, depending on the pattern in which the customers walked, they can also look at the heat maps, which aisle they spent more time, what was their eye contact on the product over there, and suitably how they can optimize the store layouts so that they have more walk-in in the right aisles, which has promotions and things like that. So this gives an overall information on how many people came into the store, how many ended up billing, and information in terms of you want to see a pattern on which days the number of people were more. Say for example, if Tuesday, if the number of walk-ins are less, then they could run promotions on Tuesday. So it also helps get the customer information and also build promotions around it, because there is a lot of business intelligence right? So and then the other things which you can do is the queue monitoring, you can do people counting, you can do demographics, as I mentioned. If it is multiple stores across a country, you can look at, say for example, today how are my stores doing in Bombay, how are my stores doing in Bangalore, how are my stores doing in Delhi, and you get a comparison of store by store as to how many people have walked in and what products have got really sold, right? And you could also find out the reason why today the number of walk-ins are less in Mumbai is because of probably monsoon, or maybe it's a Visarjan happening, or there's some riots or whatever. You tend to know what is the reason as well. So from our perspective, we've got a whole gamut of retail solution, right? One is obviously I mentioned safety, right? In if you look at markets like US, safety is of utmost importance. If somebody slips and falls, then they could be the customer could be suing the company, right? Because there is water on the ground and I slip and fell and I have a slip disc, and they can ask for compensation. So safety is of utmost importance. So we can even take footages to clearly prove to the customer whether there was water or it was a false kind of allegations made, and obviously safety to the employees as well, because some customers can turn really rude towards the employee and things like that. So safety of employee as well, which is our standard surveillance solution. And then the intelligence, right, which we are offering through the store optimization suite and the loss prevention suite, right? So we've got both the suites which help customers optimize their entire retail store and improve customer satisfaction and use a lot of information available for business intelligence.
All right. Yeah. So basically what I have understood, your solution is like start from the point customer is walking in and the customer is going out.
Yes.
And then what all the activities it does, everything has been tracked, and also it has been optimized. These days, the solution which are offering, especially in this area, they offer most of the security and the surveillance kind of solutions. However, yours, the Axix Communication solution, it's more of a store optimization as well, which is quite an interesting element of that.
Yeah.
So when this data which has been tracked on the real time, it has been monitored and being presented to the manager on the real time, or it is stored and then the manager. How does whole system work in terms of store optimization?
See, the basic element of the solution is still the camera, right? So if you look at the Axis history, we actually invented the network camera in '96 and then led the transformation from the analog to the digital, camera or the network camera, migration, right? And retail is one of the industry which uses cameras a lot. So the basic solution is still the camera, because you need to look at something and then you need to take action on basically what's happening there, right? From a safety viewpoint, it's a straightforward solution for, right? It's a view, monitor, record, or if some incident happens or some movement happens, then automatically somebody is alerted, a store manager is alerted, or somebody is alerted, they can take action. Say, for example, a customer walked into a place where he is not supposed to walk in, it's only for the staff. Then automatically somebody can be flagged off on their mobile or their monitor, and then they come back and say, Mr. Customer, that's not the door you're supposed to go in, by mistake is gone in. You can bring them back to wherever it is, right? So it is real time there. In terms of knowing what is happening in each store, so I mentioned about what you can do in each store in terms of identifying how many people came, out of that how many were men, how many were women, out of that what age groups came in, what time of the day the customer walked in more, was it at 11 or was it at 3, or what time was the lean period. All this information you can get it real time, because the solution is very much simplified with what we call as the retail analytics running on the camera, right? So a lot of intelligence is built in the camera. The camera is very powerful. The camera does a lot of things like high image quality, HD image quality, storage optimization, because it doesn't take too much storage. So there's a lot of benefits using the Axis camera. On top of it, the analytics is running on the camera, right? So you could do things like counting people or face recognition, and gathering all intelligence on the POS, as in when the billing is happening. Everything can be done at the camera level. So what happens is, for a store, they need not build a very heavy network to run the servers and computing and storage to do all this, right? Edge analytics is there, edge storage is there in our camera. So the intelligence run on the camera itself. So the camera with the running analytics on it itself is a solution as far as the stores are concerned, or the retail is concerned. So they need not build huge backend systems to run it. Most information, like for example face recognition, if there's a very important customer walking in, the moment you recognize his face, the store manager should be alerted so that he comes and greets the customer and say, thank you customer for coming, right? And how can I help you, right? Is there any specific need of yours, which we can meet, or can I take you around the store to a specific area? So making them feel very special, right? So that is also real time, because the face can be recognized real time. It can be alerted to the store manager on real time, and he can come and meet and greet the customer on real time, right? So be it any of whatever I mentioned, people counting or any of the analytics, business intelligence information you need, demographics, everything can be got real time. It's just a click of the button as to what you click and what you get.
All right, so that means probably a store can immediately optimize, or probably the message can be sent to manager that right now the demand of so-and-so XYZ product is very high and you need to probably run a discount. And all those things need to happen at the real time. So the solution is capable of doing. So it's not only the hardware, it's a mix of hardware and the solution both. When you say that running on camera, it's not only hardware, I believe, right? So how important the role of software, because I need to understand the segregation of hardware, because I understand that there could be a high-end camera required, which is in hardware, and also very sophisticated kind of softwares. So how important, what is the role of software in this whole system?
I think it's a mix of everything is a solution, right? So if you can compare the camera to an eye, you need a good eye to see first, right? And then depending on what you're seeing, you need to take action. Now the software becomes the brain or the intelligence behind what is seen by the camera, and then what action you need to take, right? So mix of both becomes the solution. So depending on what you're seeing, say for example, it is simple, people counting, right? The moment a person walks from outside to inside of the store. The camera sees that this person is
All right.
moving, and then the software analyzes that one person has moved, and it says if the counter is say 221, it moves it to 222 automatically,
okay.
right? So then you know the count has moved to 222 here today. So you need a very good camera first to see, because if you're seeing garbage itself, then the software can't do anything out of it, right? Say, for example, an incident happened, and you want to identify the 222nd customer who walked in, what really happened there? Maybe he fought with the security guard standing outside, and the security guard complained. Now you need proof, right? Now to see what really happened, you need a very powerful camera with HD resolution. To really see what has happened there, you need to identify that so-and-so customer, yes, this is what happened, this was the incident, this was the time, and really he was wearing that color shirt, or wearing this color cap, or this spectacle. So it should be evidence grade video. So you need high quality camera first, in terms of what you're seeing, with high clarity, with good resolution, and which optimizes the storage, and then the software to bring in the elements of at what time the incident happened. Can I pick that footage? Can I play it back? Can I show it as proof to police or somebody? If the customer is claiming something, you say, I didn't do anything. You really play it back and show that you really were involved in this incident, right? So that's the brain part of it, right, which analyzes. Similarly, when you go into the store, what you're seeing there is a large queue is what you're seeing, right? Depending on what you're seeing, the software needs to do something. Now the queue is crossed beyond 8 people per queue or whatever, and then you need to bring in more counters open. That software now kicks in and says there are 8 already in the queue. Now I need to inform the manager to probably look at increasing the number of counters so that more people can come here and the queue can be lessened, right? So software is the brain part, camera is the eye part, but together that becomes a solution.
So basically it's a magic of mixed magic of hardware system as well as the analytics, what we're talking about over here, right?
Absolutely.
So you have already installed, you have many case studies, and there are so many installations going on in India. Can you just speak about some of the best case study probably which you have find quite interesting in India, where the challenge was that great and you came out with an absolutely astonishing kind of solution?
So I think one of the best installations we have in retail in India is the Cafe Coffee Day, right? So they have close to 1,500, 1,600 stores across the country. Their challenge was mainly in terms of how the employees are following the processes in terms of serving the coffee the right way. Right? Are they serving it across the counter, the proper format, what Cafe Coffee Day wants the employees to do is what they wanted to do. Then obviously they wanted to look into the inventory in terms of if the eateries are already low on inventory, right? Then you need to up the inventory, right? And a little bit about loss prevention, as well, right? So and one of the biggest challenges they had was they had a lot of these remote stores, and the format of the stores were not same everywhere, right? So the solution had to be a little different in terms of the number of cameras per stores, and also how the employees actually behave, right? Whether they did the right way, they use it for training purpose to say what was the right way and what was not the right way, and what should have been the right way, right? So they have deployed our cameras across the country in many of the stores in terms of providing safety to employees and to customers. And it's also regulatory, sometimes in some of the states where the police also say if an incident happens, right, in and around that location, they need to be using it for investigation, as well. But if something happens inside the Cafe Coffee Day shop, then they also need proof in terms of what really happened, right? Who was involved, right? Whether was it the employee, was it the customer, what really happened over there, right? So I think they looked at these kind of solutions, and the biggest challenge they had was all the remote places. They didn't have heavy bandwidth available for the video to be sent back to the central site, right? So they needed a camera which really optimized the video
on the device level.
Yes, on the device level, and then compress it as much as possible so that the footage could go across the network and store it somewhere. So they chose Axix because of this, because they could identify one in terms of safety, two in terms of recording, view monitor recording the events in each store. Because if tomorrow somebody came and said your employee misbehaved, then they obviously need proof to show they actually didn't misbehave, right? So second was that in terms of investigations and things like that. Three was whether the employees are really following the hygiene standards of the company, which they're supposed to do. Four was using those footages for the training purposes as well, and also to track in terms of how many people versus how many coffee got sold, right? So I think that's from a loss prevention perspective as well. So this is one of the best installations we have in the country, with deployments all over the country. They've got more than 1,000 stores already deploying our solutions, and they use it for all the purposes. Majority of the purposes, what I mentioned.
All right. Okay. Yeah. One interesting thought here is that considering the growing challenges between online and offline retailers these days, most of the retailers are finding it tough to adopt new technologies, primarily because of the cost constraint, and second thing, they're less intelligence and probably the awareness about the solution what they can offer. So what I want to understand that how open offline retailers are these days to adopt this analytics driven kind of solution, because when you talk about security solutions, they still look at as camera that I want to invest the minimum amount, and probably they may not be aware about the advantages of having great degree of analytics.
Yes.
So how open are they?
So if you look at the offline retail, right, I would categorize it as probably the luxury retail, and then you have the premium retail, and then you have the rest of the retail, right? So I think when people look at safety, loss prevention, store optimization, improving the customer quality, the luxury and the premium would be the right target audience, for us, because for them, they would like to maintain that level of standards for their customers and the customer satisfaction, and also gather that kind of intelligence so that they can also use it for the business purposes apart from the safety, alone, which the camera can provide, right? So if you categorize that entire offline retail into these three, I would say the premium and the luxury retail would be the right target audience, for this. The rest still go for compliance purpose, because if something happens in the store, they want to know what happened, and it's an incident management, they go post-mortem, on that. But the luxury as well as the premium are more open for the kind of discussions to look for customer satisfaction, safety, and store optimization.
Now, since you have been offering this suite of solutions to many retailers in India, what have you seen with your experience? What has been the biggest challenge you foresee in offline retailing these days?
I think for them, from a business challenge, I think loss prevention is definitely one of the biggest challenges they look forward to, and gathering the business intelligence, because most of it is offline today, and they don't have mechanisms by which they get online information and take action on these kind of things. So I think these two are the biggest challenges I see, and our solutions, I feel, are rightly suited to most of these business challenges, because it's a very comprehensive, it's not just a camera solution, right? It's the entire suite with the camera which can provide the solution to the offline retailers.
Correct. All right, so I'm sure that all the customers who have deployed your complete solution at their stores, they are making the most of it, and the India is definitely a promising market, and I think the doors are open for companies like you and many other players. And I think I can all say all the best, and thanks a lot for the time. Thank you, Mr. Sudhindra.
Yeah.
It was nice discussing with you.
Yeah, thanks
a lot, sir.